I'm going to talk about it a little bit during Justice and Generosity. So slide in perfectly. It's on, yeah.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Linda Phippen, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. It's good to see you all here this morning in person in the sanctuary, but if you're watching at home on YouTube or this morning or are going to watch at some point in the future, we welcome you to our gathering too. At Westside, people come from all sorts of religious backgrounds, orientations, beliefs, and identities, and find acceptance and are welcomed into our community. Announcements about upcoming events and other useful information may be found in your order of service or will have been scrolling on the screen if you're streaming on YouTube. If you missed the announcements, you can always find the information on our website, westsideuuc.org, or in our newsletter. If you're not subscribing to the newsletter and would like to, you can do that on our website too. So now as we gather together for our Sunday morning service, I will turn things over to Reverend Carol Bodeau, who will invite our singing bowl to sound.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all here this morning. Good to see you, to virtually see those of you who are here with us virtually. If I haven't met you yet, I am Reverend Carol Bodeau. I'm privileged to serve here as minister, and we are happy to have you all here today. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. So today, we're going to be talking about love. And as I left home this morning, my partner said to me very cautiously, he was like, so are you going to wear that shirt? And I was like, have you got a problem with the shirt? And I said, I'm a billboard today. I'm a billboard today. You're going to be hearing more about where this shirt came from and also how it's connected to our denomination and to larger movement in our society. So we're going to be talking about the connection between liberation and love and how we live that in our bodies. So as I invite our bowl to sing this morning, what I invite you to do is just notice that you're here, that you're in a body. You might have a mood. Some of you were here for spiritual practices this morning, so maybe your mood is a little mellower than it was before that. Just as the bowl sings to us, I invite you to notice yourself in this room, in the body you're in, with the feelings you have today. I just don't have that as good as Chris does. I just don't. Chris is the master. Okay, there you go, Linda.
Tremaine Hawkins is going to light the chalice for us this morning. And we'll also light our 2 community candles, one for those who are enduring wars or privation in faraway places, or suffering and privation in less obvious and nearer places. It's also good to remember that good things can happen too, so we will light the candle for the 379 people that miraculously got safely off a burning aircraft in Japan after hitting a smaller aircraft. The entire crew and all of the passengers got off with only very minor injuries, and there were only fatalities were in the plane, the smaller plane that the big plane hit. So miracles do happen. These words from the chalice lighting come from Maureen Killeran from the UUA Worship Web. It's called Love Can Transform the World. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires this faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of the love we need, the love we give, and the love we are challenged always to remember and to share.
All right, we're going to start today with something a little bit different. You can see, and if you have an order of service sitting on your lap, that it says movement meditation. So I'm going to explain it first, and then while it happens, Sandra is going to be playing a little music. We're doing a little experiment with movement and emotions. So we're going to be talking about embodiment today, which is a concept that you might have heard in the world, but we don't necessarily have a good grasp of what that actually means. What does it mean to embody something? So we're going to start by doing a little exercise. We're not going to start with a hard concept like embodying love. We're going to start with some simple things. We're going to start by experimenting with embodying things that we experience all the time. Now, we rely on embodiment every day to communicate, okay? We do that to express, look, just watch me. We use embodiment I am forever flapping my arms about, right, tilting my body. We use our bodies to communicate our moods, our opinions, and we also use it to read other people. Right? We look at other people's bodies to receive information about where they are. So in a minute, Sandra's going to be playing some background music, and I'm going to call out the names of some common emotions. And your assignment, I'll do it too, I'll try, is to come up with some facial expression or hand motion or body posture that shows whatever the emotion I name with your body. Now, I'm going to make a request. Let's keep them moderately sized, right? We can have emotions that are small embodied, medium embodied, and large embodied. If anyone's ever been around a toddler, you have seen the large embodied versions of things, right? But most of us actually try to keep them really small. We've been conditioned to keep them really small. We're going to go for medium size. Now, if you are a person who needs to physically stand up to do that, that is okay. Just, let's keep it within some reason in the room. Okay. Anybody have any questions before we start? Sandra, hit it. All right. Can you embody happiness? Happiness. Suzanne's going for the big version. All right. How about confusion? Confusion. What does confusion look like? How about anger? What does anger look like? How do you do it with your body? Okay. How about uncertainty? And let's see if that's any different from ambivalence. Ambivalence. What about sadness? Okay. Anxiety. 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 Okay. Depression. See if there's a difference between, Joey had a big one, that was great. Notice if you can notice a difference between sadness and depression in your body. All right, what about longing? Longing. Notice if you feel it. Now, some of these you're going to feel deep in your body, and they might not be very visible. Right? Notice if longing is somewhere deep in your body. Okay, excitement. Excitement. Okay, you all are like, okay, that one makes us a little squirmy. How about peace? Peace. Oh, I heard a lot of yes. So the deep sigh is frequently a peace. How about curiosity? Curiosity. Oh, that's a good one. Curiosity. I saw that. Curiosity. What about acceptance? Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Okay, what have I missed? Keep going for a minute more, Sandra. What emotions have we missed? Disgust. That's a good one. Disgust. Okay, anybody got any other ones? What? Frustration. Frustration. Yep. Did I hear another one? What? Hatred. Hatred. Ooh, now that one stumps you all. I saw y'all like, ooh, I don't know what to do with that one. Okay? Terror or fear? Pick yourself on the range of where you want to be from fear to terror. Right? Right? Okay. Any more? Okay, now let's all just see if we can just return to what is your emotion in this moment. Whatever it is. Thank you, Sandra. That was beautiful. Perfect. And thank you all for being willing to try that out. We shall have more theater in this room because you all are good at that. Okay, so we are often taught to not embody our emotions, right? How many of us have been told, first, that we shouldn't have many of our emotions at all, and second, that showing them with our bodies is a serious problem, right? We are taught that if we do too much showing of our emotions, we're being overly dramatic. Or we're taught, most of us, that it's okay to embody certain emotions, but not others. And we're taught about the size or the scale of what level we're allowed to embody emotions, right? We are taught that we can embody certainty, for example. How many of us, we were taught this in school. You're supposed to dress a certain way and walk a certain way and use your voice a certain way. So we're supposed to embody certainty, but not by violating the rules or being too certain about things that other people don't want us to be certain about, right? We are taught that we should embody love in a certain way, but not in other ways, right? There are a whole bunch of rules about how we embody the things we're experiencing. A lot of rules. And the same thing about just our bodies in general. We're taught that our bodies are good if they look and act and behave in certain ways, and bad if they look and behave and act in other ways, right? And this is pretty complicated stuff. All this generates some stress around how our bodies and our emotions should be, about how we show what we are thinking, caring about what we're feeling, right? So this is complicated enough with the day-to-day emotions, but when we say the word love, it gets even more complicated because we have a lot of mixed signals in our society about love. Some seriously mixed signals about love. We're not exactly sure what it even means. We're certainly not sure sometimes if we're having it, if we're not having it. Is that love? Is that not love? Is that not love? What is it, right? So I attended, in the fall, in November, I attended one of my absolute favorite conferences that I go to regularly. It's called the Festival of Faiths. I will turn around so you can see it on the back of the shirt. The Festival of Faiths is an annual interfaith conference that is held in Louisville, Kentucky. It's hosted by the Center for Interfaith Relations, and it is an amazing gathering, okay? So it brings together speakers and musicians and faith leaders and people from all sorts of different traditions and roles to talk about the things that really matter in our world. Things like racial justice, the environment, economic equity, mental health. And this year, the topic of the conference was Embodying Love. The title was Sacred Minds, Sacred Hearts, Embodying Love. And there were panelists and workshop leaders from a huge range of traditions talking about this concept of embodying love. And this included many things. There was a group of Buddhist monks that spent the 3 days of the conference. They always set up in the lobby. There are a group of monks who make a sand mandala in the lobby every year. And they sit there for 8-10 hours a day for the 3 days, working on a giant sand mandala, which at the end of the conference every year they take out and pour into the river that is just outside the conference center. Jazz musicians performed evening concerts. Young Native American musicians and teachers sat with Jewish rabbis and Buddhist initiates to discuss the conflict in Israel, which had just happened a couple of weeks before the conference was held. The principal translator for His Holiness the Dalai Lama was there to speak about what it means to demonstrate compassion. And it was absolutely one of the most profound learning experiences I have ever had. I can tell you that, some of you have heard me talk about nonviolent or compassionate communication here. And we got to see one of the most powerful demonstrations of it I have ever seen. During the conference, there was a conversation being held by a Native American teacher, a Jewish rabbi, and a Buddhist scholar. And it was facilitated by a politician from the area. And during that conversation, the Native American scholar spoke about how she wanted us all to be aware of the conflict in Israel and how colonialism was part of that. And this was very difficult for the rabbi. And the two of them stopped. And in front of hundreds of people, the rabbi said, "I found that really hard to hear. Here's what I felt when you said that." And the Native American, she was a young woman, said, "I hear you." And they discussed it. And they had a compassionate communication conversation about it in front of hundreds of people. And it was profound to watch people actually embodying, "I'm feeling this and I'm upset, and I'm going to share that with you honestly and openly in a way that is compassionate." It was powerful. But probably the most moving thing about the whole weekend for me was a series of talks by another group of people who were there from a program called the Enneagram Prison Project. So some of you might have heard of the Enneagram, and you would not necessarily think of it connected with prisons. The Enneagram is a sort of personality type test. Okay? The Enneagram is a model of personality typing that is based on how we respond to the world and can be described using 9 types. Okay, so if you've ever taken a Myers-Briggs or any of those personality types, they give you you get a little group of letters that come out of that test that says you're this. The Enneagram has 9 types that are divided into 3 subgroups. So there's 3 groups that focus on emotional intelligence, people who tend to respond from their emotions. 3 that are intellectual, people who tend to respond from their cognitive or intellectual centers, and 3 that are instinctual or body-based responses. So the 3 emotional intelligences are the helper, sometimes called the giver, the achiever, and the individualist. The 3 that are said to rely on the intellect are the investigator, the skeptic, and the enthusiast. And those that are said to be from the body or the instinct are the challenger, the peacemaker, and the perfectionist. So if you've never looked at this and you're curious about it, I would encourage you to check it out online. It's a very interesting way to think about yourself. Now, each of us, according to this model, has one dominant personality type and usually is connected strongly to one of the wings on the sides. So, for example, I'm a type 2, I'm a helper, and I have a strong wing 1, right, which when you add the helper to the perfectionist, what you get is what they call the companion. That's my 2 wing 1 type. So most of us are going to have a dominant type and then some strong leanings to the thing that's next to it. It's actually shaped like it's called the Enneagram because that means 9. It's a geometric shape. So regardless of whatever personality type you have or not, or whether you're interested in this, the way that I saw this model being used at the Festival of Faiths was nothing short of miraculous. It is nothing short of miraculous. So it's being used in the prison system, and it's a very concrete example of how understanding how we embody our feelings can create chaos and also beauty in the world. And that consciousness about that can make a huge difference. So there's a woman named Susan Olesic in California, and she founded the Enneagram Prison Project in 2012. She and other teachers who understand the Enneagram, a few of them began going into San Quentin prison and working with individuals who participate in the program there in San Quentin to learn about themselves and their personalities and the basic ways they had been embodying their basic core identities in the world. So here are the mission and the vision and the values statement for the Enneagram Prison Project. I am going to give you a trigger warning right now. When I talk about this program, I'm probably going to cry, because 500 people cried for 2 days listening to these individuals speak. So it may or may not happen, just heads up. This is the mission. The Enneagram Prison Project's mission is to understand why we do what we do, using the Enneagram to inspire transformation on both sides of the bars. Through self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-compassion, we do the work together. The vision, freeing people all over the world from prisons of our own making. It is our vision to bring our compassionate curriculum into every jail and prison worldwide. And the philosophy, we help people to remember what is right about them. All human behavior is an attempt to feel loved. We believe that it is our right to have autonomy, to know our worth, and to feel safe and secure. When our basic human needs and rights have been unmet or worse, violated, there is an intelligence underlying our impulses and reactions. We bring understanding to the motivations which preceded behaviors. Compassion for the why before the what, because we cannot change what we cannot understand. So in this program, Susan and these few teachers who were not incarcerated individuals started going into San Quentin in California and working with incarcerated individuals there. They used the Enneagram to work with these individuals to help them understand how traumas they had experienced as children stopped them from living, from truly embodying in a healthy way their natural gifts, talents, and qualities. So let me repeat that, because this applies to everyone in this room and every person you will ever meet on this whole planet. We have to work with people to understand how traumas experienced as children stop us from living or embodying in healthy ways our natural gifts, talents, and qualities. So, some of the most powerful teachers of this program are now individuals who have graduated from the program, who were formerly incarcerated, and who are now no longer incarcerated, but go back into the prisons and the jails here and around the world to work with other people who are currently incarcerated. This is the most powerful thing I've ever seen. So there are a number of people called ambassadors who told their stories at the Festival of Faiths. They are graduates of the program. One of them called himself an enthusiast. His type was the enthusiast type. And as a child, he was constantly told to shut up, get out of the way, physically traumatized, because his energy was big. And he lived in an environment where that wasn't allowed. And so he was treated abusively. And so in order to express his bigness, he had to do big actions. And he did big actions that were harmful and destructive to himself and to others. So the teachers working with this program help these individuals understand how their very natural, essential gifts, talents, and qualities got distorted in order to survive. Susan Olesic and the other teachers help people find the special gifts and qualities that they're meant to embody and help them figure out how those natural qualities were suppressed or pushed aside or used in other ways because of trauma and struggle. And this is true for all of us. One of the most powerful things about this conversation and listening to these ambassadors speak was to understand that the barriers between us and them are completely false. They're a complete lie. Which is not to say that we shouldn't have good boundaries when we or other people are expressing our qualities in ways that are destructive. That's not it at all. But we can't understand what until we understand why. And to break down that barrier that says, oh, okay, I do that too. How do you do that? How do I do that? So if you look on the Enneagram Prison Project website, you will see some recorded interviews with some of the ambassadors. At the Festival of Faith, there were 5 ambassadors with Susan speaking on the panels and leading the workshops. And I have never been so impacted by listening to a speaker as I was by these gentlemen. They told stories of intense childhood trauma, of addiction, of being fed alcohol in their baby bottles, of gang involvement and extreme violence in their lives. They spoke about how their trauma responses involved developing survival behaviors that were to them devastating and horrible. They were devastated by the survival strategies they'd had to develop. These were some of the most intelligent, articulate, emotionally mature human beings I have ever heard speak. One of them, who is now a pastor, was, when he entered San Quentin, on the FBI's most violent offender list. And he was the most amazing human being. I wept uncontrollably listening to him talk about his life and his capacity to learn about why he did what he did when he embodied his life. When he spoke about how his most basic gifts and talents had been subverted and distorted through trauma, and why he had engaged in behaviors with his body that were destructive, and how he was reclaiming the gifts and talents behind that with compassion. These men are now professionals, they are teachers, they are partners, they are parents, they are pastors. They go into the prisons. And if you watch Susan in some of the interviews, you can see some video there of Susan in the system. This woman knows what it means to embody love. She knows what it means to be in her body in a place of receptivity and compassion. Not just talk about it, but to embody it. Watching her speak with these men, she listened so compassionately. She was able to be aware because she was fully present in herself with what they were experiencing as they told their stories. When she started this project, she was determined to embody her values, to embody compassion, and to embody her faith in the human spirit. And because she was committed to that, she found a way to help others do the same with themselves and in the world. And these men weren't even sure that they had good selves when they started. At the end of the second workshop they led, which I attended, Susan invited the listeners to share reflections on what we had heard. And I stood up because I felt profoundly called to do it, tears streaming down my face. And I said to them, I have been profoundly impacted by your courage, by the quality of your character, by your bravery, by your wisdom. I said, you are some of the most inspirational men I have ever seen in my life. I told them that listening to them and the transformations they had gone through was a life-changing experience for me. Everyone in the room was crying. It wasn't just me. And you could tell that for these men, it took a lot of strength to hear, most of them were men of color, to hear a white woman say, I admire you beyond belief. You are some of the most profound teachers I've ever encountered. They were not used to receiving, they're learning it as they do this work with the project, to receiving sincere praise, sincere valuing of their gifts and talents. Think of the courage that it takes first to be Susan Olesic and say, I think I'll go into San Quentin and hang out with some people who've committed horrible crimes because I believe in their inherent goodness. I believe their inherent value. And think of the courage of those individuals in San Quentin, in prisons around the world, in jails around the country, who sit and are willing to tell their stories and to find in themselves not the defensiveness, but the vulnerability that says, I was traumatized. I wasn't born a bad person, and I'm not a bad person now. I got hurt, and I was hurting, and I didn't know how to embody that. This is love. That's love. Love can express itself many ways, but that is love at its most profound. Embodying love means embodying that kind of love, courage, commitment, faith. It's not the romantic, made-for-television kind of version of love, but it's loving with all its imperfections. It's loving the human spirit in its struggle to survive. The leaders of the Enneagram Prison Project cannot go into these settings without anything less than complete, 100% authentic curiosity and care for the people they are working with. It is a zero-tolerance environment for BS. You do not go into San Quentin prison and BS anybody, because they're not going to buy it. You go in there with authentic commitment and care. So if you're going to do that kind of work, you have to know what you feel in your body. If you're afraid and anxious, you have to be able to acknowledge it. You have to be able to walk into that room and say, right now I'm feeling anxious. How are you feeling? And you have to actually care. In the last year, our denomination, the Unitarian Universalist Association, has rewritten its statement of purposes and principles. And this statement has received, you've heard me talk about it, it got its initial approval last summer at our General Assembly, and it's almost certainly going to get final approval this coming summer. And that new statement has at its absolute core this concept that love liberates. That embodied love liberates. I'm going to read you in part what the new statement of purposes and principles of Unitarian Universalism says. The Unitarian Universalist Association will actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. I'm going to repeat that because it's a lot to take in. We will actively engage our members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. It goes on, as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, promise from the heart, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritage of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Think about that for a minute. How many of you have ever thought of love as a spiritual discipline? The statement goes on to detail the 6 core values that are the expression of liberating love embodied through our lives. Interdependence, which is connection with the world in all its forms in the natural world, and also between communities. Equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. Now, in the coming months, we're going to be talking about just exactly how we as individuals and as a community can embody love, living, liberating love. What does that mean? It's not something that's mushy or undefined, but actually is pretty solid at its core. It's a clear expression of human compassion, care, and commitment. It was funny this morning, I happened to get my e-newsletter from the Foothills congregation in Maryville, and without much shock to me, guess what the topic of this morning's service is for them too? Liberating love. Because we're not the only congregation that's asking this question. This is new for us as Unitarian Universalists. We are used to having a statement of principles and values and stuff we do for social justice. But now, we're saying love is at the center of this, it unifies all of it, and we're going to be accountable for doing it. That's new. The Enneagram Prison Project is something I would encourage you all to look into. Support for that program, they're always seeking additional support, financially and otherwise, and it's an amazing program. As Susan and all of the guys from the program said during the festival, they said they call it a correctional system, but it corrects nothing. It corrects nothing. The Enneagram Prison Project does correct things. The transformations I saw were incredible. So embodying love or embodying generosity or embodying justice or embodying any of these things we value, that can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't all have to look as big as Susan Olesic going into a prison. Right? We can embody love by smiling at someone in the grocery store. But it does require us to know who we are, where we are, what's happening in our bodies, and how we're responding out of those habits. Here's the catch. Think of those things you experienced as a young child that might have suppressed or subverted or misdirected or redirected or maybe even supported if you were blessed and lucky to be in a situation where your natural gifts and talents were supported. Think about how those experiences and the choices you had to make about how you embodied yourself in the world, how that shapes your choices when you hear about someone in prison, or someone who believes differently than you do about religion or politics or whatever. The first step in embodying love is recognizing in ourselves what we're embodying. We can't understand the what until we understand the why. What matters isn't how big or grand the gesture or action is, but instead the actual authenticity and the depth of the connection we have with ourselves and another when we take an action. A small action taken authentically can have an enormous impact, much more impact than a large action taken in a grandiose way without authenticity. So here at Westside, this is something we strive to embody more and more all the time. We have justice and generosity projects that are meant to embody these values that we hold and that we share in the larger world. Now we currently have ongoing projects. We are always receiving food for food pantries that Alice and Jerry are kind enough to take for us to deliver. We also work with Samantha Monday's program in our local jail system, which supports incarcerated individuals here in Knoxville as they are getting sober and clean clean while in jail so that when they leave the system, they can be supported in staying free from addiction and being in supportive environments. We continue to support that. We continue to support Family Promise in all the ways that we can. We're also looking for other ideas for upcoming projects for the coming months. So if there's a project that you feel strongly about or that you believe would be important, Elizabeth, can you raise your hand? And those of you online, you can look at Elizabeth's email. Elizabeth Corbett is our Programs and Membership Coordinator, and we are looking for new things that we can be doing in the coming months. You can continue to support Westside's ongoing work by making a pledge or a one-time donation. You can do that using the QR code. You can see, for those of you who are in the room, the box at the back of the sanctuary. You can always drop a check or cash in there. You can use the QR code. But there are other ways too. You can participate in discussions. You can show up. Showing up is huge. We have a couple of things we're going to be talking about. That this is going to be the announcements part of the service, because there are a couple things coming up that you can participate in. So let's have Anne first. Anne's going to tell us a little bit about the auction, and then Jerry Thornton's going to tell us a little bit about what our Green Sanctuary team is up to.
I'll trip over you if I go in front. Hello. The auction is coming up in 2 weeks now, the countdown. So we still need some auction items. Please still think about that till, I think the deadline's the 18th, okay? And next week, we'll have a, we being the auction team, we'll have a sign-up for the potluck. Usually, it's just kind of bring what you can, but we want to make it so that we have enough entrees for sure. Got to have enough desserts. So even if you don't sign up, we'd appreciate if you did, but if you don't sign up, bring what you can and we'll enjoy it. Okay, so this is also about connections. And we've got a neat little match game that you may have read about and we've talked about. And we're asking you to give us some little factoid about yourself that maybe only a few of us know or nobody knows. You still remember that spelling bee that you won in the 5th grade and the winning word, right? Share that with us. You know, for me, I was a science teacher. Tell us about that blue ribbon you won for your science fair project. We'll all like to hear about it. Or maybe you met somebody famous. Share that with us. I met I can't think of his name. I met the singer who sang You Build Up My Senses.
John Denver.
I met John Denver, but now I've told you about it.
Now you can't use it.
So don't tell anybody else. And we'll just keep that. But anyway, we're going to give you a sign-up sheet. You can do it online, or you can get it from me right now at the end of the service and give it to either Suzanne or me today, or sign up online. Just a little factoid to get us talking to each other. We'll go over them together maybe and just have fun with it. Just another way to connect. And I guess that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, the matching part. That's, yeah, so you will get, you'll get a sheet during the auction that has everybody's names that gave us a secret. And then your job is to match up who you think has that special item to share with us. Does that make sense now, since I left that out? Thank you, Suzanne. So get this it'll be on the back table, and when you fill it out today.
We're going to talk some more about the talent show.
Okay. Or be quiet.
No, keep going.
Thank you.
You can talk about the talent show.
No, I can't talk about the
talent. So I can see Yetta is coordinating, and Yetta's saying from the back. Also, if you want to participate in the talent, again, small, medium, or large talent, it can be not talent, extra small talent, all the way to whatever you want to do. Talent show, that's part of that. I want to make a plug for the auction. The theme is connection, right? And the first place we can practice embodying love is by simply connecting more fully with one another here. Here's the thing that's intimidating about the word auction. It makes you think you got to spend a lot of money. And I want to tell you right now, you do not need to spend money. Some of us have that ability and some of us do not. But this auction is not really an auction. It's a party where we all get to hang out together and get to know each other and eat some food. There's a reason we're moving it to right around the service time. It's more accessible. It's more accessible. It puts it more in the center of our congregational life. Please come. We also have a virtual option. We're working on a virtual option for those of you who won't physically be in the room. Please attend, even if you don't plan to buy anything. Even if that's not what you're going to be able to do. It's basically our third Sunday potluck. It's going to be a bigger party. It's a chance for us to get together and get to know each other better. And I want to tell you that one of the ways I'm embodying love and compassion and generosity this year is I am making sure that all the items I'm offering are very low cost. Finance people can make the faces you need to make to embody the emotions you might have about that, because frequently I do events that end up having really high price tags. But I decided that this year I want to offer things that all cost less than $10. So as many people who want to attend them can as possible. I'm committed to making the value of generosity and equity part of our financial gathering. Okay, so please know that you are welcome, whether you have $1 that you'd like to contribute or $1,000 or whatever it is. Everybody is equally valuable and all gifts count. All right, and Jerry, I'm going to call you in to tell us about what the Green Sanctuary team is up to.
Okay, and good morning. I hope I can get through this without coughing. I seem to have a tickle in my throat. The Green Sanctuary Committee is trying to do a number of things. But one of the things we're trying to do is fight climate change and create better habitat for wildlife here on our property. So, you know, climate change is a big thing to try to fight, and we're a very small church here. It seems like an impossible task for a small church like Westside to fight climate change. But think about the little boy who was observed on the seashore amidst a mass of dying starfish, and he was flinging starfish into the ocean. And a guy came by and saw him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm flinging starfish." And he said, "Well, there's so many, it's impossible. You can't possibly do any good." And the boy looked at the man, picked up a starfish and threw it in the sea and said, "Save that one." And in a similar way, we're a small church. We can't save the world by ourselves, but we can do our little bit. So like that little boy, the Green Sanctuary Committee would like Westside to do its small part in fighting climate change and destruction of natural habitats. Our plot of land here is small, but there are things that we can do to contribute to the fight. So the committee is exploring ways for us to have a smaller carbon footprint and to make our grounds a better place for native plants and animals. Since trees suck large amounts of carbon dioxide out of the air and store it away in their woody bodies, planting and nurturing more trees is one small way to fight climate change. So we have decided to expand the tree cover here on our property. And we're also looking for ways to get our neighbors in the Farragut and surrounding area to expand their urban forest cover. To provide wildlife habitat and shade and more carbon storage and a more beautiful landscape. So on our property, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to create a new patch of forest out there on the southeast corner of the property in the area where there's already a few trees. And that's adjacent to the neighboring property, which has left a patch of forest in their corner. So the two corners together will create a larger patch of forest, providing habitat for the deer and the raccoons and possums and other critters that already use our property, including the 25-foot buffer zone that runs along the east side of our property. We're also trying to get better vegetation to grow in there. So we will be planting short flowering trees like dogwoods and redbuds and maybe fringe trees under the power lines out here so they won't interfere with the power line, and larger trees back towards the building. Okay, secondly, we're going to expand the width of the what's called the riparian zone next to the creek down here in the valley. You may have noticed that we have a number of larger and smaller trees growing along the creek down there, and right now they're only in a zone about 10 feet on either side of the creek. The town of Farragut has an ordinance that prohibits us from building any kind of structures within 25 feet of the creek anyway. So our thought is to expand the riparian zone of vegetation by about 15 feet, so there'll be 25 feet on both sides of the creek that will have trees and flowering shrubs and native plants and shrubs of various kinds. So to get the trees for our intended plantings, we've signed the West Side Church up to be a distribution point for trees that people like you can purchase this year through the Tennessee Environmental Council that has a program called Tennessee Tree Day. On March 16th, we will be distributing trees here at the church that people have purchased online at tecntn.org. Okay, I'll have this up here, and there's one back on the back table, so you can't leave here without finding out how to get your trees. If you Google on that website, in fact, there's a link I noticed on the Wednesday edition. Oh, Brad's pointing, apparently it's also in your order of service today. Okay, so for anywhere from $2 to $5 a piece, you can buy these bare-rooted trees and buy them, purchase them online, and your order will be compiled. First you choose your distribution site, so you choose West Side Church here, unless you want to go to Dean Hill Recreation Center or one of the other distribution places. And in the week before the distribution, our Green Sanctuary Committee will have to go get all the trees that have been ordered by people who want to pick them up here, and we need to create their individual orders by species. So we'll have to pick a redbud out of here and an oak out of there and put them together in a package and label them and have them ready for John Doe or Jane Doe. And so when they come here on March 16th, which may include you, you get to pick up your trees that day. The important thing is that you have to commit to planting them right away, preferably the same day or the next day, because bare root trees don't survive very long. But winter and early spring is the best time to plant these things. That's why they distribute bare root trees. Now, the reward we get for all this work is that we get 50 free trees from the Tennessee Environmental Council, and I've ordered 5 each of 10 species of trees. So sometime in early March, we will be going around, maybe before then, and trying to decide where we're going to put the 5 cherry bark oaks that I ordered, or the 5 shortleaf pines. And we'll go ahead and start digging holes for them so that when the day comes, we don't have to go out and dig 50 holes at once. We'll get the holes ready ahead of time. So this is where you came in. If you're physically able, we would like your assistance in digging the holes and in preparing those orders for all the people that are going to be coming here to pick up their trees. So we'll need volunteers on or about March 12th or 13th to get all those trees and assemble the individual orders. And then we'll need people to dig the holes and plant the trees on March 16th or 17th. So we can use all the help you can provide, and remember that many hands make light work. And your participation, whether here on this property or on your own property when you plant your own trees, will be one small blow against climate change and environmental degradation. So does anyone have any questions about that right now that I can try to answer? Yes. Well, these are all small trees, probably less than 2 feet, one to 3 feet. They'll be in that range somewhere. There'll be little skinny whips with roots. And
Do they have to come from that source? I happen to have a neighbor have trees.
yeah, no, they don't have to come from that source. You can get trees wherever you want. For instance,
You want to get rid of some trees.
I want to get rid of some.
you want to get rid of some trees.
Yeah, I'm thinning. So
Yes, I resemble that remark, because there's a lot of trees down here that I have planted that came from my garden or from my yard. And so if you want to do the same thing, get some people to dig some of them up and bring them over here, or give them to your neighbors if they need them. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. We can talk afterwards if you want.
So thank you, Jerry, and for everyone on the Green Sanctuary doing the work to embody that value. As we close our service, we're going to embody one more thing. So I'm going to invite you to rise, embody your spirit if you are willing and able. Feel free to stay seated. Feel free to... This is your opportunity to get close to people if you like. Or, you can hold your own hands, right? I keep saying that. Hold your own hands if you want to hold your own hand. It is totally okay. If you feel like holding someone's hand, that's okay. So one of the ways we most commonly use our bodies without thinking about it to express emotions is singing. How many of us listen to the radio in our car? Have Apple Play or whatever on our phone, right? We sing, and you can't kind of help but move sometimes depending on what you're singing. It can be sad songs, it can be happy songs. We are going to embody gratitude today, so we're going to do a little call and response song as our closing. So you just have to repeat after me. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for those gathered here and those far away. It goes high now. For this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. This day is precious. That we are able to breathe and be present together is a gift. Please know that your presence in this community and in this world makes a difference. May you go in peace and passion and whatever it is you're feeling today to bring your true gifts authentically to the world. May it be so. Go in peace.